Good afternoon, everybody. How you doing today? Well, I got a real surprise for all of you out there. And I also got a surprise this morning when I received a phone call from Uncle Dorcal's son, Hackbar. Now, if you've been following the series from the very beginning of My Uncle Dorcal, you very well know then that Uncle Dorcal has a son named Hackbar Aflocket to be exact. And he does not live in the state we live in. He lives out in the Midwest, but he gave me a call this morning. I wasn't sure who it was because I did notify him that, I was taking care of Uncle Dorcal and so forth. And he's been down to the hospital, and I was not aware of this. As you well know, Uncle Dorcal is in the hospital right now having major surgery on his jaw. He's got a severe case of lockjaw, and the doctors seem to think that it was developed because he talked too much on the Halloween special. I couldn't shut him up. You know the one we did out here on the porch, out here on the deck, a few weeks back, and I couldn't shut the guy up. I mean, he told me to stop interrupting him. You remember that one, don't you? Well, this guy, when he gets going, he just doesn't shut up. So I think he developed that lockjaw from all that movement at that 113-year-old jaw of his. Well, anyways, Hackbar has been stopping down to the hospital, and he's been staying there almost all the time, leaving just occasionally. And he was with him in the waiting room at the OR when he was having all this stuff done. And he wanted to come down here and tell you all about it. So I'm going to stop flapping now, and I think it's only 6 o'clock right now and in the evening here, and I expect Hackbar to be knocking on the door any time now, and when he gets here, we're going to have coffee, and we are going to talk about Uncle Dorcal. Well, at least wise, Hackbar is going to tell us all about it. So we're just going to wait until Hackbar gets here. So please don't go away, because this man is very interesting. He's a little late. I hope he gets here soon. I poured the coffee. I thought I heard his car coming. Now, I'm not sure how old Hackbar is, but Uncle Dorcal is 113, and I'm going to say Hackbar's got to be around 90 years old anyways. So he's somewhere in that area. I don't even think Hackbar himself knows exactly how old he is, because back in those days they didn't keep any real records. They lived in the mountains, and everything. Well, anyways, let's wait a little while longer. If he don't show up, I'm going to have to call and find out. I think I hear him coming up the steps. Come in! Howdy! Howdy! Your fly is open. Well, I went to see my dad today in the hospital. He's doing pretty good, considering what he's gone through. I want to tell you about him.
You have to excuse me walking from the door over there over to here is pretty hard. But his jaw is locked up. They got it freed now. But the only thing is, he can only move his mouth just a little bit. And, excuse me, I have you've got, oh, this nice coffee here. Looks good. Well, what they did is they had to replace his mandible again. Then they had to replace a rectilinear transistor that was in the circuit down at the bottom of his neck. What was happening is the rectilinear transistor was not getting biased properly, but by the farther gate or gate valve. What the farther gate or gate valve does is it impulses the rectilinear transistor and kicks it and makes it go, and this causes his mouth to move. But what happened was the rectilinear transistor, excuse me, Bill, you make a fine cup of coffee. See, I know a little bit about this stuff because I've been reading a lot about it. And, you know, since my dad had all these physical things gone wrong with him, I've been reading up on it. And it's not easy because at my age, it's hard to see anything anymore and, you know, hard to do anything. Well, anyways, what they did is they couldn't get the rectilinear transistor to kick in. It wouldn't kick in. And what they had to do is they had to replace it and put a larger one in there. And then the bifarter solenoid, bifarter, that's B-I-F-A-R-T-E-R, the bifarter solenoid was stuck. And what happened was it overheated when he did the Halloween special. And when that shorted out and then finally burned out, it killed the rectilinear transistor that was driving his jaw by way of a relay called the snot relay, S-N-O-T, snot. You know, like in your nose, you know, that kind of snot. So they replaced those things, and now when the impulses come in and they kick the rectilinear transistor, it makes his jaw work. But the problem is that it doesn't open up enough, and Uncle Dorcal sounds like, or your Uncle Dorcal's my dad, he sounds like he's, you know, he's mumbling. And when he mumbles, of course, you can't understand him. So he's not ready yet to come home because they had to cut him open. They had to cut. That's another thing I want to talk about is his anus. His anus. But before we talk about his anus, we got to talk about his mandible. Now the mandible. His mandible is on a hinged, like a cantilever type of thing, where it was a spring on one side and another spring on the other side. And as the rectilinear transistor got biased more and more, it caused this to go down a little bit and it make his mouth open up. But it didn't always work out. So they're working on it. He's not done yet. He's got a long way to go. But I hope to have him home in a few weeks if all goes well. If you don't mind, Bill.
Oh, no, I don't mind at all. No, I would love to have him here.
Well, that's good because, you know, he loves staying here. He loves you very much, even though you're not a blood relative. He really enjoys himself when he comes here, especially when he does his stories and stuff. He loves talking about the things he used to do when he was a kid. Excuse me. Now, I understand sweating in here. I understand that they gave him an enema. And somebody asked him, how can they give you an enema when they removed your anus? Well, they didn't give the enema in the anus. They gave it to him in his mouth, and they flushed it down through. It went down through his stomach, through his small intestine, and what's left of his large intestine, I think they took almost all of it out. Then they kicked it back up through his mouth again. So in other words, it made a U-turn. It went in his mouth, down his esophagus, through his stomach, through his small intestine, into part of his upper in a large intestine, and then booted back out his mouth again. That's how they had to give him an enema. But what they're going to do is they're going to put an artificial anus in him. They're going to do that before they send him home, so he'll have something to fart out. Excuse me. Now, that's the story there, so I don't know when he's going to come home, but I hope that he comes home soon. And thank you for telling me that my fly was open. I'm not very careful sometimes. I got to go to the bathroom. Excuse me. I made this cane back in 1927. I made it out of a tree. It served me well in later years. I made it, as you know, I was a young man. I made it. I didn't need it then, but I said, well, maybe someday I'll get old, and I may need that. My legs get shaky when I first get out. I'll be right back. Yeah. Okay, sorry for the interruption. But I think I've told you quite a bit. I'm getting a little tired, you know. I don't have the stamina that my dad has. I don't know. But Bill, I want to thank you for having me over. And believe me, when my dad is feeling good, I will bring him over myself.
Well, is it okay that you're driving there, Hackbar?
Well, I'm careful, and I only drive the back roads. Oh, it takes me about 3 hours normally to go 15 miles. But, of course, being that I live in the Midwest, I have my daughter put me on a plane and flies me over here, and then I have a taxi bring me over here.
Oh, I see. Okay.
anyways, so that's the story with my dad. Excuse me one more time here. This coffee's good. Yeah, I'm okay. Thank you very much, everybody. Take care. Goodbye. Now I don't need the help. I can get the door. Is this your cat? Is this your cat? The cat wants to come in here. Oh, he's a cutie. Goodbye.
Well, I want to thank you for watching. It was a pleasure to have Hackbar Afflockett visit us. Gave you a chance to see what he looked like. He's a character, I'll tell you. Thank you for watching. You have a good day, everybody.